Okay, if it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, you may notice that there's a little bit of changes in kind of the setup and the production quality. As I'm getting further into the series, I'm kind of going to be experimenting with, increasing the production quality, how I want to set up the videos and narrate the videos. So you can expect some changes as we're going, and we'll just kind of, my plan is to still keep it raw because I do like this aspect of me kind of narrating in more of like a monologue fashion. But there will be probably some variation in how the videos are set up. And one of the differences today is that I've actually already completed the drawing as I'm recording this. So what I thought I would do actually is kind of narrate the process a little bit and have the drawing playing beside me. And part of the reason that that works well today is that I did kind of a simple session. So if you've been following along, you know that I've recently been doing a lot of different figure studies. So I've done a few master copies of different artists. So those like Chris Legaspi, Andrew Amaral, who's an artist I just recently discovered, who's absolutely incredible. And I've just done a few of these different master copies to try and understand the figure. And then recently I began actually starting to draw the figure on my own, both from reference and from imagination. And one of the things that I'm doing while I'm kind of following through on this is actually studying anatomy. And anatomy is something that I studied years and years and years ago, and always just kind of scratched the surface of it because, it's a little bit difficult and it can be a little bit boring. But kind of one of my goals this time was to go a little bit deeper into the anatomy. I still am not quite sure how far I want to go. I sometimes watch these anatomy videos and I hear like really complex kind of narrations and descriptions of the different like the different muscles and the different groups that exist. And for me, I care about understanding the anatomy, but I don't know if I need to be able to construct, all the motions of a human figure from scratch. I don't think I'm just at that level yet in my artwork. So I'll actually offer kind of, how I'm thinking about anatomy right now and kind of the simplifications that I'm thinking about. And a good place to start with is actually the arm. I think the arm anatomy is like really easy and something that you could honestly figure out in just like 1 or 2 sessions, a couple hours sitting down and working with it, or at least like the major structures that you need to know. So here I drew a side view, a front view, and a back view of the full arm. And I was always connecting it to either the delt or the pec, which is in the front, or pieces of the back. So like the trapezius and the lats and the teres major is what they're known as. But anyway, none of that is important. What's important is that you start with the deltoid, which goes all the way around the arm. And so it really is kind of this ball that exists on the top of the arm. And if you really want to get into it, there are kind of like a front, a side, and a rear delt. But what's most important is just understanding that kind of ball structure that exists on the top of the arm. And that it kind of connects to the side of the arm in this way. So you'll always kind of see a little bit of a divot as the delt comes down and attaches to the arm. And then the arm itself, the upper arm, which is like kind of the most important piece, I don't really even focus that much on the lower arm. It's just made up of the bicep on the front and the tricep on the back. Now, the tricep actually does have kind of a weird shape, which you can see actually probably rendering right about now in the video, which is in the side view, you can see that the tricep kind of has this piece that comes up. You can kind of see right here, comes up and around this tendon that's on the arm. And that's, I think, like probably one of the weirder, stranger things that you kind of have to understand a little bit about the anatomy of is the tricep and how it kind of sits on the back of the arm. But once you know the bicep and the tricep, and then just understanding there's also this muscle that's kind of hard to see called the brachialis that goes down the middle. But with just those three things, you can kind of begin to already create the structure of the arm. And then for the forearm, I actually don't really know much about it. I only really have ever studied this one muscle called the brachioradialis, which kind of comes across your arm like this. And it can sometimes be visible on the skin, but otherwise is not super easy to see. And then when I'm actually drawing like a figure, if I'm drawing a figure at some point in time and I need to understand better the anatomy of all these different kind of, there's like these like finger-like muscles that run down the forearm, then I will actually just sit down and study it for that particular drawing. For me, it's not that important, I think, to commit some of these things to memory. So I like this like kind of simplification of just thinking about the arm as the delt, then you have the bicep and the tricep, maybe the brachialis, but really I just think about the bicep and that weird shape on the tricep. And then I think about the elbow and the forearm. And that's it for me when I think about drawing the arm. And so that simplification you might find helpful, but that was kind of what I was trying to pursue a little bit in these drawings, in these renderings. You can see, especially right now in the rear view, that I was really kind of focusing on only rendering those particular muscles. And when it came to the forearm, I really just kind of even left in the muscles being suggested, and the only one that I labeled was the brachioradialis. And again, like if you ever need to go deeper on this for a particular figure, particular study, just knowing that there's additional muscles in there that you can kind of research and learn to understand, I think is helpful enough, rather than just trying to commit everything to memory at one point. Now, this is like my approach, and I think that there's probably a lot of great artists that would disagree with kind of what I'm doing. But part of, I think, like going on this art journey of developing or growing your art skill, especially if you're being self-taught or if you're only kind of supplementing with online material, is that you kind of need to parse out what is valuable for you and what isn't. And so this is, I guess, one thing that you can try. But as with everything that I say in the series, it's just kind of how I do it, how I think about it, like my approach. And I think everybody needs to figure out individually what their approach should be. So I think that's pretty much everything I want to say about this. I think this video is rather straightforward just because the arm anatomy is rather simple, and I think, in terms of drawings, it's quite straightforward. I guess like I can spend 1 second actually just talking about the drawings themselves a little bit. So the drawings themselves I kind of like, but again, these are like quite easy drawings. So I think, it's like from an aesthetic perspective, I think they're kind of difficult to make them, look poor. What I did try and focus on, I can say a little bit, is like my line quality. Especially right now, I'm kind of enjoying the style, the style of keeping, dark lines along the outside and then leaving kind of more suggested lines on the inside of the figure. And it gives it, or of the whatever the subject is that I'm drawing. And it kind of gives it this nice graphic quality of, almost, comic book style graphic quality, where you have this really nice background feeling, and then kind of something that's a little bit lighter in the front. But I think that's everything for now. The next video will be a painting video, actually. So I'll continue this painting that I've been working on, and then we can talk about it a little bit after. Okay, see you soon.